What is up, everybody? We're back for another episode of Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash. Today I got Robert Landen on the show, and I didn't really know Robert before recording the show, and I'm glad took the chance and had him on because it was a very interesting conversation about his approach to cops and getting cops to quit. That's a hard thing to do, so definitely stay tuned and check that out. But before we get to the show, got to shout out my Dank Pod Stash super supporters, Maxwell, Dave, and Dennis. You guys keep the show going. Everybody else on the Patreon does as well, and I really appreciate it. Go check out dankpodstash.patreon.com, or maybe it's patreon.com/thedankpodstash. Look at how good at advertising the Patreon I am. But also, the Dank Podstash is officially sponsored by Project Sparta. It's time to get ready and in fighting shape. Greg Papanicholas is going to get you there with personalized meal plans, training, group support, and tons of amazing fitness and motivational resources and knowledge, including the Project Sparta Facebook group. You can go to projectspartacoaching.com and learn more about Greg's work and get started on your path to health. Don't be that person that only sits and talks about change, whether it's your health or whatever. Get up, start learning, drilling, and training. One of the most important parts of prepping, no matter what for, is your physical health. Get to projectspartacoaching.com now and get after it. Also, shout out to Voluntary Apothecary. Voluntary Apothecary is here to fulfill all of your beard care needs. They carry beard oil, mustache wax, beard butter, and more. I only use their beard care products, and I love them. You can check out their amazing products at voluntарyapothecary.com, and listeners of the show can take 10% off your order with code DANK at checkout. Also, the Dank Podstash is teaming up with Road to Anarchy for a monthly newsletter and more. Road to Anarchy is an online magazine connecting groups of voluntary individuals who are looking to increase their freedom from the state. Becoming more self-reliant and developing a better focus on becoming a productive individual is the only mission. The only division is against the state. No matter your flavor of anarchy, finding your road to anarchy is the first step to progress. The time is now to put our individual differences aside, join up, and create change. You can go to roadtoanarchy.com to sign up for the monthly zine or to patreon.com/thedankpodstash and get signed up with any tier of support. Check out the Road to Anarchy Facebook page and groups to connect with other individuals on the road to anarchy. Where is your road taking you? And now, without further ado, episode 92 of the Dank Podstash.
Enemy of the state.
An enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state.
Dank Podstash.
You're listening to Enemy of the State's Dank Podstash. Check out thedankpodstash.com to find every episode of the Dank Podstash, links to support the show via our BitBacker and Patreon, Dank Podstash merchandise, and much more. If you'd like to advertise on the Dank Podstash, email us at dankpodstash@gmail.com. All right, back again for another episode of Enemy of the State's Dank Podstash. This is episode 92, and today I got Robert Landen. And Robert, I don't know you very well. We've been friends on Facebook for a bit. I've seen some of your posts, and we just talked about you coming on the show, so I'm excited to get to know you, talk about some of the stuff that you do, and overall good Dank Podstash conversation. So why don't you go ahead and tell the audience a bit about yourself, how you came to find freedom, whether you're libertarian, anarchist, whatever you identify as, and let us know how that went.
All right, well, my name's Robert Landen, and I kind of bumped into anarchy for a while and actually stopped calling myself an anarchist because it wasn't bringing about positive results. I guess it started back when we had trouble with some renters, and the police said they were dangerous people, and so my girl and I went out and got guns, and I checked the laws on the guns and found out we didn't have any rights.
Yeah.
That's what started me on the path. And then it was just one video after another, and just supported Ron Paul for a little while. Realized that the government has too much control, and thought we could fix it. Then later on, I realized that it's not going to be fixed from the inside, and just started, I dropped all the labels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call myself anything now. I'm just some guy, trying to make it, a peaceful guy, trying to make it on this world and make it as enjoyable as possible, and trying to help other people. I've been through hell, and so I can help other people avoid the hell I've been through. And so basically, I guess I've dedicated my life to that now.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty classic story. It sounds like with the Ron Paul support and stuff, you were on that, was it 6-month, 3-month plan, from libertarian to anarchist. That's
Yeah, right.
the joke, right? So you went out and got guns to deal with some shitty renters. Is that what you're saying? And that's kind of, you just stumbled on the laws and whatnot. And
Yeah, they wouldn't pay rent. They destroyed the house. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely, a situation where you might need something like that. And it sounds like the cops didn't do anything for you.
No, they told us to get guns.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's
They said
more.
it was a dangerous game.
Yeah. It seems to be more and more common that people are dropping, the anarchist label publicly, and just, being just a guy and doing like exactly what you say. I'm seeing stuff in my Facebook feed today about how the quote unquote anarchy movement is, just kind of shitty. There's a lot of shitty people in the movement, whether or not they're actually anarchists or not. So I think that's a tactic that a lot of people have been adopting, and it also seems like a lot of people are adopting that kind of super recently, since Trump went on with this whole professional anarchist thing. I know I've been running into quite a few people who are like, "Wait, you're an anarchist?" and they're not really sure what that means. So I can definitely see the utility in dropping the label and just being a good, peaceful, motivational, helpful person, whatever you want to be, spreading the ideas of freedom. Was there anything specific that brought you to dropping that, or was it just the reactions in general?
Well, it was the negative reaction. I've been in sales my whole life, and you don't really want to bring up things that turn people off, and it turned people off. And then when I noticed that there were other people, like you mentioned, calling themselves anarchists, and I didn't want to be associated with them, And I actually tried voluntarists for a while, and actually had that as a banner. And then after a while, I was just like, what do I need anything for? I'm just a guy, crawling around on a rock, speeding through the universe. No sense wearing any of the labels.
Sure.
And it's been better, actually.
Yeah, it's opened up some more doors for you. Yeah, I mean, because you said you're in sales, so I imagine just dropping that label opens up the doors for some conversations for you. But do you ever bring that stuff up during sales, like, because that's or are you just associating the idea of selling the idea of freedom?
Oh, I've always been a, good guy, helping people out. My dad raised me right. We were very moral family, and so I've always stuck with my principles, and I just I just don't need to be part of anything labeled that brings about negativity. There's no sense in doing that. I mean, I can reach people, but if I say I'm an anarchist, then they're either confused or they run away, or it's just a downfall to bring it up anytime, and it's not needed. I mean, are you really an anarchist? How do you know? Is there a blood test? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you got all kinds of people calling themselves anarchists out there. I don't know what they are. I'm not going to be part of that gang or whatever they are. It's got nothing to do with me.
Sure.
Just be good. Don't harm other people. Don't threaten. Don't coerce. Don't steal. What's the big deal? These things we learned when we were 5. I don't need a label.
Right. Yeah. The only thing, I had a conversation with a former guest, or a past guest, I should say, on the show, my buddy Jimmy John. And he's got a big thing about labels and symbols and things like that, and how easily they can be co-opted. And I think we're all seeing that, pretty often lately. And that's interesting too that you said you even went with voluntarist for a while. Is a lot of people I know have switched from saying anarchist to voluntarist. What kind of issues did you run into with that label?
Well, there's a lot of people out there calling themselves voluntarists who are absolutely batshit crazy. I don't want to be associated with them.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it's bad enough I got to call myself human. Look at all those people.
Yeah, that's a hard one to avoid the crazies with is human. It's a pretty broad label.
Right?
For
You're
sure.
one of those crazies? Like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be a dirty word if we ever associate with aliens on the reg, you know.
And I don't want people to think that I'm trying to recruit them into anything. You know, I appeal to their, you know, their moral principles as a good person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard enough to find those people.
Yeah.
To sit there and say that, oh, you got to fit into this model is ridiculous. I thought it was a waste of time. A couple of years I did that. You know, I mean, I went from libertarian to anarchist to voluntarist to just me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like the controversy it brings sometimes, because it can be a conversation starter. You know, just like a T-shirt with the anarchy symbol or something like that on it. Like I sell and make T-shirts obviously with the show, and I got my "Fuck Your Candidate 2020" shirt on today, and that's a good conversation starter. So is the "Disband the Police" T-shirt I've got. It's good stuff. But, you know, you're right. You can definitely get lumped in with people who aren't representing the ideas well at all. Like, I've had a lot of people since wearing the "Defund the Police" shirt or not defund the police, disband the police. That's the one I have, because fuck that whole defund movement. But that's the question that people have been asking me while I'm wearing that shirt. It's like, oh, so you're with this whole idea of defunding the police. And it's like, well, read that shirt again where it says disband the police. And, you know, because it's such a hot topic now, all in the news and everything like that, they always throw the defund the police talking points at me. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. So it can definitely be confusing, but it gets a conversation started for sure.
Well, yeah, I had years ago, I wrote an article, "It's 50 Reasons to Abolish the Cops." You can Google it and find it. I was in the middle of the rewrite when I had trouble and never got back to it, but it's still pretty good. But, you know, there's to sit there and get, well, let me put it this way. When I talk to cops, you know, basically what I do lately, last few years, is get cops to quit their jobs. And when I'm talking to the cops, a lot of times I'll get them to say, you know, that they'll say, well, wait a minute, you're talking about anarchy. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But apparently you are. Let's talk about it. You know? So they bring it up on their own when they realize that what's going on goes against their own moral principles. You know, I don't teach them anything. I don't tell them anything because they don't care what I have to say. I ask them questions and I get them to admit that what they're doing goes against what they believe is right.
Sure.
And that's when they start talking about anarchy. I mean, I deal with everybody. You know, the guy at the front desk did the same thing with him. And he agreed with everything because, Robert, I agree with everything you say, 100%. But, you know, it's just not going to work. It's like he's saying, we're in prison and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, that's the funny thing. You lay it out and people agree with it, you know, pretty wholeheartedly a lot of times, and then that cognitive dissonance just kicks in. It's like, it's just not going to work. And I can't remember who I was having the conversation with. It's probably my wife the other day. We were talking about people who are big into the Constitution, and they always say, you know, it's because we the people didn't defend it. We the people let it get how it is. And I'm of the same idea as, you know, Lysander Spooner. It's whether it's one thing, the Constitution is one thing or another. It's either been powerless to stop this or it has led to what we have now. And that's butchering the quote, but I've said it on the fucking show a million times. So y'all know what I'm talking about. And I think there's a better argument there for freedom in general, anarchy, whatever you want to call it, rather than defending the Constitution. It's the you get to that point where people agree, right? Yeah, this is all great. I can do this stuff, but it just won't work. It's going to take a whole lot of people to do it. And yeah, it's a complicated thing. People always say, well, everyone would have to do it. I'm like, I don't think everyone would have to do it. That's a bit utopian, but you get enough people to where you can get the people who don't want to do it to leave you alone, then maybe.
Well, they're defeated. I mean, they were indoctrinated for 12 years. I wasn't indoctrinated very much. I was out of there around 6th or 7th grade. I had enough of that. But these people have gone through 12 years and maybe 4 years of college, and then they stick their heads in front of the TV and watch the news. I mean, they're programmed that way, and that's the way I treat them. I treat them as programmed robots, and then I try to deprogram them a little bit by getting them to think for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work. And like I said, it usually leads them to go, wait a minute, you're talking about anarchy. And I'm like, no, I've never said a word about anarchy.
Right.
Right? You searched your own moral principles and you came up with it. You know? But then they use that word anarchy and it scares them because that word is used to shun the people who don't want to participate in their own enslavement, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a slanderous word, right? It's like, oh, he's just an anarchist, to discredit them, to shun them from society, to banish them. So why would I want to call myself an anarchist when it's used that way? I'm trying to appeal to these people to get them to wake up. I'm not trying to get them to run away and, reinforce their fight.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm sorry to everybody who calls himself an anarchist, but, I wore it for a year or so and I gave it up. It just didn't help. And I've gotten more places with people just talking about moral principles.
Sure.
I mean, isn't that what anarchy is based on anyway?
For a lot of people, yeah. And there we come back to all the different labels and whatnot. There's a whole lot of different ideas. And I can agree with that mostly, though. But I did want to ask you, so you say you talk to cops and get them to quit their jobs. And I think I remember reading something on your Facebook about, was there an incident that kind of set this off, your work with talking to cops? Because I know you mentioned having to deal with them for renters and stuff, but I think you dealt with a court case, something like that really pushed you on there.
Well, yeah, I had a problem with a crazy neighbor who attacked me. And I had watched a video about never talk to the police,
Mm-hmm.
which goes against the grain. I'm used to talking to them. My dad's best friend was a cop. I've talked to cops before. It's not a big deal. But it kind of worried me, right? Anything you say can be used against you. So I didn't talk to the cops. And they got mad. They raided my house. And so I ended up in court defending myself. They were threatening me with 45 years in prison. And, I started looking into how to defend yourself. And I looked at all the different ways. And I ended up going with challenging jurisdiction. And I got railroaded. I got steamrolled in court. It was horrible. It was the worst thing I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't the worst thing I ever did, but I didn't realize they were going to get so nasty with me. I mean, I got them with their pants down. They didn't have any evidence to prove the code or the Constitution applied to me. And instead of admitting it, they just threatened me, threatened my family, threatened my supporters, charged me, added more years, charged me with contempt, threatened me with contempt countless times. It was horrible. And then at the end, when I was in front of the jury, I said, forget this. I'm a good guy. I haven't harmed or threatened to harm another peaceful person in my life. How could you let these two, I pointed to the prosecutor and the judge. I said, how could you let these two, or give these two permission to lock a peaceful person up for the rest of his life for disobeying a rule I didn't even know existed and they can't prove applied to me? And, the prosecutor called a mistrial. They were going to retry me. And then I was like, well, I think that bringing up the moral aspect was a lot more effective than challenging jurisdiction. 25 times I went to court over a year and a half. It was a nightmare.
Sure.
And so I started coaching people for court after that and helping them defend themselves. And I said, listen, stay on moral high ground, try to pull them up on moral high ground, right? And try to get them to do the right thing. And if they choose not to, then you have evidence against them to say, hey, they had a choice. They could have chose the peaceful option, but they chose the legalized violent option.
Mm-hmm.
Because cops, prosecutors, judges, they can ignore the laws anytime they want. What I do is help people persuade them into ignoring the law when no harm has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hell of a lot more effective than anything I've ever seen.
That's awesome. That's really good.
Not really sure where to go from there.
No, that's great. It's it's the perfect. It relates perfectly to just the idea of persuading people, or actually eliminating government force as much as possible. Because you're not going to use their laws against them, just like you said, because they'll do whatever they want. Despite that, they'll break the laws to get you. Which is why it's so much fun to poke fun at the Libertarian Party. Side note, the Libertarian Party right now has been quite the dumpster fire. I've been enjoying that just for the watching it burn aspect. I do kind of feel bad for the people that work really hard and are good people in there, but they should know better.
No, they're not. They asked me, the Libertarian Party, I don't know, the people that run it here in Orlando, they asked if I would run for Senate for the Libertarian Party for Florida, state Senate. And I'm like, wait a minute, why would I want to do that? That's not what I'm talking about. It's like they want to get one of their people in there to take control, and it sounds too much like Democrat and Republican to me.
Sure.
I don't want control. Right. I don't want small government. In fact, I tell you what, I don't care if you want government. Go ahead, take it. Vote away, pay your taxes, obey and pay like a slave. Fine. Leave us alone. We're not hurting anybody. And there's no way you can morally justify forcing us to pay and obey like a slave. There's no consent. Without consent, sex is rape. Without consent, obedience is slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Stay out of it. Leave us alone. That's the problem, right? Is they're forcing it on us. Whereas we never asked for this. I don't want anything to do with their laws. And if somebody came around selling government, who would buy it?
Right.
Oh, well, hey, here, obey anything we say, pay what we tell you to pay, or we'll lock you in a cage. How does that sound to you? Here, sign here.
Yeah.
Please.
No, you're 100% right. And it's interesting too, because that's it's become the slogan of quite a few different groups, movements, and just people in general, is we just want to be left alone. Whether or not it's the slogan they push out there publicly all the time, it's what so many people are saying now. And I've been thinking about that a lot, because my dream is to live out pretty fucking far away from everything as possible. I still want to interact with people and all that stuff. No man's an island, but I'd like to have some property out in the woods even further than I am now. And, homestead, hang out with the dogs and the wife and all the animals and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, how can I be left alone? I'm willing to pay for whatever, my roads and stuff that I use. I'm fine contributing to things like that. But there's a whole lot of quote unquote services that I don't want to pay for, that I can handle myself. And I don't want to be forced to pay for anything. And when you talk to people about that, about just being left alone and even having the willingness to pay for the things that you use inside a system, like we're in the United States and it's under full control of the government, obviously, they always kind of come back to, if they're supporters of the state, well, why don't you leave? Why don't you go somewhere else? They don't like the idea of having groups of people or even individuals who aren't on their fucking team. You know what I mean? So that's something I've been thinking about. How can we push to be left alone within the borders of a state? I'm not sure.
Well, you learn my moral approach. Think of it. You're a cop, and every time you pull someone over, they're asking you to morally justify your behavior. And then you're like, well, it's the law. And say, I'm not talking about the law. You're a human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear how you'd morally justify it. How would you, if I was asking you in a courtroom and you were on the witness stand, what would you tell the jury? How would you morally justify choosing the politician's dictates over the peaceful option of leaving me alone? I want to hear the answer.
Mm.
Give them an option. That's what you got to choose. You're going to choose the dictates to do violence. You're going to choose peace and leave a peaceful person alone. Which one are you going for today?
Sure.
And usually the cops agree with me. They shake my hand. They love it. Now, if they heard that every day from everybody they pulled over, or at least a good percentage of them, maybe we could win them over and get them to stop. And once they stop, the politicians have no claws anymore. We've declawed the bastards. Because without the cops, there's nobody to lock us up for disobedience.
That's true.
And the cops should be protecting us from the politicians. They're supposed to protect and serve the people. You notice on their cars it says protect and serve, but it doesn't say who, right? It's supposed to be the people.
Right.
But they actually protect and serve the politicians and the wealthy and the corporations.
Absolutely.
And they enslave us and force us to pay all the bills. And it's absolutely disgusting. And if people would just challenge them on moral grounds and give them an option, it could switch around. I've won over many cops. I used to get them to quit their jobs. They take early retirement. The one cop I met who had a gun on me at one point said, "You're right. I can't argue with any of that, man." He says, "I'm done. I had no idea." Shook my hand. It was beautiful. But then somebody mentioned that, oh, well, then they're just going to replace him with a younger, more evil guy. So I said, okay, well, what do I like about cops? So I like that men with guns show up when there's someone violent victimizing a peaceful person. It's all right. I'm with you on that. There's a rape. You're going to find the rapist? All right, let's do that. A child molester, you can put him in a cage. I'm good with that too. All right, but when you threaten peaceful people with violence, I can't support you. I've said this to cops before. Can't support it when you do that. You know, if you're going to help out, be helpful. Don't rob us and cage us for disobedience.
Right.
Right? You'll feel better about yourself. Your life becomes more peaceful when you leave peaceful people alone.
Absolutely. So
But I'm not asking for much. This used to be the way they were.
You say it's worked most of the time, and I'm surprised by that because even attempting to talk to cops the times that I have, they usually don't take it too well when I do take that moral route. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, there's nothing violent happening here, things like that. So it is a positive result most of the time when you do it, you'd say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, up until the time they caged me and caged my dog and my truck I used to drive around with no license, tag, or insurance. And cops would pull me over and I'd video record them and I would ask them these questions and we'd have a conversation. Usually they try to get my ID from me. They say, "Oh, I need to see your ID." And I say, "Well, I can't do that." And they're like, "Why?" And I said, "Because if I obey you, it'd be like encouraging threats of violence against or condoning and encouraging threats of violence against peaceful people. You wouldn't want me to do that, would you?" I do a lot of sales stuff with them to persuasion, to persuade them into doing the right thing, not doing the wrong thing, right? And the thing is, it intrigues them when they hear it because they've never heard anything like it before,
Sure.
So they actually talk to me, and it doesn't hurt that I'm 6'4" and white either.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Can you run me through an encounter that you've had before?
I'm never in the car. I always get out of the car.
Oh, really? Yeah.
What?
That can be a risky move, getting out of the car sometimes, for sure. But can you run me through maybe an encounter that you've had that went well? Kind of tell the story so we can get an idea of how you're doing this, what your sales pitch is, more or less.
Well, when I see them, I get out of the car quickly. I grab my camera, I grab my keys, and I open up the door and I lock the door, lock it behind me. I don't want them in my car. And by the time they get to me, I'm already standing there. And if they ever said, get in the car, I'll be like, I got no key. I can't get in. Locked my keys in there. Whatever. I don't want to be in a submissive position, sitting in a car while they're hovering over my head. Okay? I would rather be looking down on them than them looking down on me. So, like I said, it hasn't been a problem. I drive an Escalade and I'm white. So they haven't been that brutal, except for that one time, which I'll get to. But I mean, this one time they had me for no license, no tag, no insurance, dark tinted windows, and this cargo carrier I had on the back of my truck was hanging over a fire lane, like 1 foot, right? And there was 3 cops, and they were trying to get me to accept tickets. I never showed my ID. I mean, as soon as I got out of the car, he was like, "Where's your ID?" And I already told you that part. This I can't do it. I'd be condoning violence. And then another cop showed up. I had 3 of them. They were Osceola deputy sheriffs, and they had the whole road blocked off too, the whole corner by the hotel. This was in Old Town, Kissimmee, but not Old Town. I'm sorry. Celebration was the name of the community. Bohemian Hotel, right there. They had the whole neighborhood blocked off for me. Suspicious vehicle I was,
Right.
you know. And you know, they were trying to sell me on taking the tickets. This one cop was like, well, no, I think I can't forget this one cop. He goes, he's standing there with his arms crossed. He's up on a curb too, you know, and I'm down in the street and we're behind my truck. And he says, "Look, I got 3 options." You know, he's like, look like RoboCop, you know, glasses painted to his face. He goes, "I can write you a bunch of tickets, I can arrest you, or I can do nothing." And I said, "I'll take that last one." What was that, 3 or C? To do nothing, you know, being peaceful with a guy that did nothing, that's peaceful, fair enough. And then the other cop, he spoke up. There's 3 of them there, right? He was on the other side. He said, he tried talking me into taking the tickets. "Look, if you take the tickets, you can just go to court, or you can get the tint fixed, get your license, get your tag, get all this stuff fixed up, go to court, and they'll drop everything." And I said, "Why should I have to do any of that stuff? I haven't hurt nobody. Why should I give in to threats of violence like that?" Right. Then the 3rd cop walked up. He was on the phone, and he says, "Mr. Landen, we're going to leave you alone." And then he shook my hand. The other cop shook my hand. The last one fist bump, and they all left. And then I followed them, trying to talk them out of their jobs, but I guess they were busy. They had to go.
That's interesting. It's crazy. It's like you're the cop whisperer then, because I haven't seen. I've seen a lot of interactions similar to that fucking sure as fuck don't go that way. But that's the next thing I'm super curious about is how you're talking cops out of their job. That's really interesting.
Well, I ask them, how can they morally justify threatening peaceful people with violence? And they can't do it, right? They say it's the law. And I said, yeah, but what is the law exactly? And do you know what the laws are? I mean, if you're going to enforce them, you should know what they are, right? And they usually say, right. And I say, if I'm supposed to obey them, I need to know what they are, right? He goes, yeah. I said, well, then what are they? Tell me all the laws. And don't forget city, county, state, federal, international, and they enforced other countries' laws here. And it's written in legalese. How many of them do you really know? And if we don't know the laws, how can we obey them? And by the way, neither one of us consented to these laws, correct? And the cops usually agree with me, go, yeah. And I ask them, I say, do you like politicians? And the cop says, well, hell no. Usually they hate them. They're like, screw politicians. I said, why would you pick punishing peaceful people for disobeying their dictates over resolving conflicts with your own moral principles? Wouldn't you feel better if you made that decision? It's kind of like a little therapy session, I guess.
That's interesting. So how many do you think you've gotten to quit thus far?
Well, like I said, I used to get him to quit. One of them, I talked to him for 45 minutes. He said he's taking early retirement. He's disgusted at the way things have gone, the way, how brutal the police are. They're all pretty disgusted at the way they're treated. You know, they don't feel like they're respected. And when I talked to them, they realized it. So I got like 2 or 3 to quit. And this was 6, 7, 8 years ago. And like I said, somebody said, well, just get them to leave peaceful people. Or they didn't say that. That was my conclusion. They said they're going to replace them with worse cops. So I figured, well, let's keep them and I'll just get them to leave peaceful people alone. And I made up business cards that say, you know, peaceful police. I had one here somewhere.
Sure.
Well, anyway, I give them a card and I was hoping to get a website going for somewhere for them to go to get more information, but I haven't been able to get that together yet. But anyway, it's got to be around a couple dozen, maybe more.
Cool. That
have sworn off punishing peaceful people for disobedience. But I ran into some pretty evil ones though in Georgia, and then a few months later down here in Florida, they beat me up pretty bad down here. It was horrible. there's cops out there that don't want peaceful police.
Yeah.
They just don't want it. And a lot of people told me I was risking my life talking about this stuff, and I didn't believe them until they nearly beat me to death.
So,
but I didn't give up. I felt like giving up, but I'm like, no, I always remember the cops that thanked me. And what I'm doing really helps these guys out. And if we can get these cops, and I'm not asking for anything new.
mm-hmm.
This is the way it used to be 30, 40, 50 years ago. The cops didn't want to arrest anybody. They lived in the community they patrolled. They hung out with people that they patrolled. They didn't, they tell you, please don't make me arrest you. I don't want anybody, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not asking for anything new. I'm just asking to go back to the way it used to be. Just judge by your moral principles. You don't have to keep trying to find something on somebody and filling up the jails and filling up the coffers and collecting as much money as you can. It's absolutely crazy what they're doing today. And they agree. In fact, I'm looking for a sheriff right now that'll do a video with me. Joe Lopez, who's running for sheriff in Orange County, he's agreed to do a video with me. He's been a state trooper for like 34 years. And I want everyone to see how I talk to these guys and how we can win them over. I mean, I went around the mountains looking for a sheriff. I wanted to flip a whole town and get all the deputies to leave peaceful people alone. So other towns could copy what we did to emulate a free town,
Mm-hmm.
right? A free county where nobody is violently punished for disobedience, right? Now that means you don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to get a license. You don't have to get a tag. You don't have to do anything. You
Sure.
can do those things if you want, but you won't be violently punished if you don't.
Right.
Or financially punished.
Right.
So, yeah, I want to find a sheriff. Like I said, things went sour up there on my trip. I ended up in a cage, $3,000 for driving around with no license tag or insurance. It was a nightmare. And I came back here and I was going to quit, but I started up again. And then they tear gassed my hotel room, beat the shit out of me, and nearly killed me. And I was going to quit again. And here I am again. I'm a glutton for punishment, my friend.
So did the really negative encounters, the tear gassing in the hotel and getting beat and all that stuff, now, was that started from an interaction where you're trying to sway people, or was that just them continuing to come after you for traveling freely and peacefully?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them. They won't tell me.
Oh, so it was pretty much out of the blue for you.
I have no idea why they targeted me. I wish I knew what it said on their screen, what they knew about me. They all knew me. I've been pulled over dozens of times.
Mm-hmm.
They all knew my truck. So, I don't know. They might have just tried to silence me. Lucky people were coming over from the restaurant next door, and I think that's why they stopped beating me. And you talk about having knees on your neck.
Mm-hmm.
They not only, one of them had their knee on my neck, but he rubbed my face into the ground. Both sides, I had road rash on both sides of my face in jail, and two of them were on my back, jamming their knees, constricting my lungs, my rib cage. I couldn't take a breath, and when I tried to twist and take a breath, they punched me in the ribs. They were trying to kill me, no doubt. So I started screaming for help, which is scary to even think about screaming for help, because then if they're going to kill you, they're going to kill you right then and there to shut you up.
Yeah.
But luckily, if I want to say luckily, they said, shut up, shut up, shut up. But people started coming over, and I think they just didn't want me dead when those people showed up.
Right.
So why they wanted to kill me, I don't know.
Yeah, that's having witnesses and filming is definitely extremely important to avoid that stuff. And, it doesn't always work, as we've seen, but I'm glad it worked out for you. That would have been really, really horrible thing, a really horrible way to go, That's no good. So, working to get them to quit, and this more positive way, and trying to, I guess, flip cops back to being humans again, it's a method that's not super popular right now of all times, but it hasn't been super popular with anarchists for quite a while. You always see that picture of the riot cop getting shot right in the face, and it says, speak to cops in a language they understand. Were you ever in that kind of camp and decided, hey, I bet we can flip them, or have you always been more, let's try to talk to them?
Well, I mean, I've been flipping cops, if you want to call it flipping them, since I was a kid. I learned it from my dad. You know, we've talked cops into ignoring the law many, many times. The cops do it all the time, right? I mean, they don't have to arrest you. They don't have to bother you. They can walk away anytime they want. But my dad and I were real good at it. My younger brother had gotten a new car, and the next night he was drunk, crossed the median, smashed head onto a lady in a minivan. We're at the hospital. The state troopers there telling my dad we're going to take him to jail for DUI. And 10 minutes later, after my dad and I talked to him, the cop said, okay, I won't do it.
Wow.
He didn't take my brother to jail. Yeah. My ex, she smashed her car up drunk, called me up 2:00 in the morning. And I went down there. It was only a couple miles from the house. And she had crossed the median too, smashed her car up, but she didn't hit anyone else. And after about 10 minutes of walking with the cop over her path of destruction, he wasn't going to take her to jail either, because I appealed. I said, no one's been harmed, right? No damage has been done. It was just some scrapes in the grass, you know, the ruts in the grass. That's all. Her car was totaled because she hit one of those light posts that they didn't put the post up yet. It was just the base.
Oh, yeah.
So it tore her whole engine and transmission out. And, you know, he walked away and drove away without doing it. It happens all the time. I'm not the only one doing this. You could talk a cop out of doing it. You know, it's just the way I perfected this moral approach is like I perfected any of my sales pitches. You know, I work hard and I do it over and over again. I get lots of practice. You know, I used to do role playing with people until I got it, you know, I honed it and made it really good. And, you know, it's still getting better every day.
See, that'd be...
And the cops love it. Not all of them, though.
Sure. That'd be a great video series for you, is kind of teaching people your methods on how to do that. I think people would appreciate that quite a bit. And that's why I wanted to ask you too. You're looking to start making videos, you mentioned, with the sheriff, and then you had sent me a video. I hadn't gotten a chance to watch it, but what was that first video you put out the other day?
The Cop Whisperer one?
I think you had an interview. An interview video with, I can't remember who it was now. I've been crazy busy up here.
I don't know. There was the Bob Podolsky video.
That one.
That we did a Zoom interview.
Yeah, that's right.
But I also, a couple years ago, I did one on Radio Underground, I think they were called. I thought that one was pretty funny. I haven't promoted it at all, but it's called Cop Whisperer Robert Landen.
Nice.
If you want to look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, I found those links here. I'll make sure to throw those in the description so people can check them out. And we got the interview with Bob, the Cop Whisperer, your book, it looks like, on Dropbox, and 50 Reasons to Abolish Cops, your article you were talking about. So definitely check the descriptions, everybody, or description of the show if you're listening right now, and check that stuff out for sure. And it's Bob Podolsky.
Yeah, he's been a good friend to help me out. He's been there for me all through a lot of this. I feel bad for the guy because he feels bad for me, you know. I just keep getting beaten down, but I don't give up. I don't know why. I love helping people, and I get such joy, especially when I used to coach people for court. You know, when I teach people how to defend themselves in court, their reactions, they're just so blown away. They think it's just amazing. And then once they learn it all, they're like, oh, okay, I get it, right? It's like real simple now.
Sure.
But while they're learning, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Brings a lot of joy to my heart.
That's good, man. Yeah, you gotta follow that, and you can't give up if that's what's bringing you joy. That's good. We gotta keep you safe too. Is the other thing. If you don't know they're coming, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. But is there anything you do to try to stay safe, to stay off the radar of those corrupt fucks that come after you?
I mean, I had to accept the fact that there's not much I can do if they're going to kill me. I used to, when it first started, I was kind of terrified. I didn't want to die, but I know I'm going to die someday. And if they kill me, I'm kind of in a lot of pain and suffering lately anyway. So I'll probably get a good nap. Probably get the best rest I ever had. So I don't fear them anymore. I hope they don't. I always think about what would I say to them when they show up. It didn't work a couple times, but it's worked dozens of times. So those 2 times that it didn't work, I'm not going to let that keep me from doing this.
Sure.
I'm just too damn good at it to stop now,
Yeah.
you know? And I want to teach other people. Like I said, if more of us do this, we could not only win over the cops, but teach them how to win over other cops. And then the very few that can't be won over, you push them out. Say, this isn't for you, right?
Right.
They don't rat them out. They push them out. Just like the bad cops today push the good ones, right? The ones that will have good intentions.
Sure.
And they're too scared to speak up. We're going to flip it on them. And then the good ones that have good intentions start pushing out those bad ones. Well, give them a chance to win them over first. Say, hey, look, you can turn over a new leaf. Start leaving peaceful people alone and doing the right thing, or make it really tough for them to be a cop.
Right.
Right? At least that's my idea.
No, and that's making it tough for them to be a cop. That is one method that I seem to like. I like that one quite a bit, because I don't have those sales skills, those being able to convince people the way a lot of people do. I'm not much of a people person, but I like the idea of shaming cops out of their positions too. If it's a shameful thing to be a cop, then they probably won't be a cop anymore. But I can definitely see the advantages of a more positive approach, which that's something I wanted to ask you as well. A lot of people always say when they're talking with cops or people who support the cops and whatnot, they're like, well, just following orders. They always bring up the Nuremberg trials, right? The Nazis were just following orders too. And they never like to hear that. So I was going to ask if you use that in your pitch when you're talking to them, but I can't imagine, because that seems like it would be a bit antagonistic.
Not necessary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that come afterwards, a lot of different conversations. It can go in a lot of different directions. There's like absolutely no way to teach it.
Mm.
What I do is I got like 30 points, a lot of them sales, psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some hostage negotiations in there. And you learn these 30 points, and then you will know what to say and how to say it, and where the conversation could go from there. Now, I've gotten off track with some cops, a couple of Orange County cops. I mean, he took me off track, and I was like, hey, we're talking about all of society and all this. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did we get down this road? He totally threw me off. So you got to stay on point, right? Don't let them throw you off track. They're going to try to drag you down all kinds of roads so they can beat you down on those roads, right? You got to stay on the moral high ground and stick to your guns. It's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
I've been in sales for a long time. I've been out there knocking on doors. You get doors slammed in your face all the time. This is a little different because you could get killed doing this. It's not just a door slammed in your face, So you got to know what you're doing. That's why, one of the reasons I want to do Zoom video with the police is because it's a lot safer.
Right. Yeah. No face-to-face, no opportunity for him to shoot you, beat you, whatever. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Heck yeah, that'd be a very interesting way to do it.
I don't know if I answered your question though.
No, yeah, that's. I mean, I don't think you bring it up. It doesn't seem like something that would fit into that script, really, because it seems antagonistic, whether or not it's true.
I was trying to say that it could go down that road. It just hasn't, right? I mean, I've had cops bring up Constitution. I'm a big Lysander Spooner fan. I wasn't there. I never agreed to it, but I'm not going to tell the cop that, right? I'll ask them, well, when did you agree to this? When did you consent? I mean, it says in there that they have a right to steal your money. Would you have consented to that? I mean, it could go 100 different directions. Right. I don't know. But what you need to know is the foundation. And once you understand these 30 points, I counted them. They're about 30. I don't know, 28, maybe 32. I'll have to number them. But once you understand that, it makes the rest of the conversation real easy.
Heck yeah. So are you going to be writing an article?
You could try to get my license.
You gonna be writing an article with the 30 points, making a video, anything like that, so that people can check these out?
Well, yeah, I wanted to do a whole training video series, and not just training for people on how to deal with the cops, but training for the cops. I wanted my idea of going up there and flipping a sheriff. One of the parts of that was going to the morning meeting with all the cops sitting there at their desks and talking to them and explaining these things to them, right? Having conversations about it, and winning over as many as I can. That would be my ideal situation, is if I could get in front of 30, 40, 50 cops and let's see how that goes. Now, I may stink at it the first time, but after I do it a few times, I'll get better.
Yeah.
But there'll be training for cops, training for people, training for sheriffs. And the thing that's great about it is once my method is out there, like with you learned everything, all these points, and you started role playing and you started practicing, you would create your own way, your own personalized way of doing this. I would love to see hundreds, maybe thousands of people out there with their own training videos on how to do this.
Sure.
Right? Because you may appeal to people that I don't appeal to. You could reach people I can't reach. Right? It's just like any sales position. I train all kinds of salespeople, young kids all the way up to old men, old women who go out there and can sell people I could never sell. Right? So learn the steps that I have, and then create your own program, write your own book, teach other people how to do it.
No, I'm looking forward to that, to seeing those videos.
I'm running out of things to say.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all that, man. I think that it's going to appeal to a lot of people. I know my buddy Hody Johns would definitely be interested in that. He's big on that idea, but I think having some points to go off of would be really good for him, for his argument for that. So maybe we can get you hooked up, maybe go on his show and talk about it. I think you'd enjoy that quite a bit. We are coming up to the end of my recording time, though. So before we get out of here, you got any more points where people can find your stuff, maybe donations for you to help you out, anything like that you want to list off?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have peacefulpolice.com and themoralapproach.com. There's nothing really there. I just cleaned them up. I think I just got a paragraph on each one. And I have friends working on trying to get something ready for their, what is it, PayPal? You do Robert Landen. I guess you can just look me up. Yeah, donations would be great. It's rough out here.
For sure.
But yeah, it would also help me get this out sooner. If I can get some money together, I can get all this produced quicker and get it up on the website and get more people involved. I want to get an RV and travel around and go to city council meetings and county commissioner meetings and go talk to sheriffs and go to colleges and talk to their law classes and really start getting people on board. I mean, you see, it's not that hard to understand, right? It's pretty simple.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'll be happy to
I just
drop.
got to get out there and get people.
I think that'd be great. Yeah, if you could take the show on the road, that'd be awesome. It'd be really interesting to watch, and I'll be sure to drop your websites and the links you sent me, and your PayPal link in there. Maybe we can get you on the road to flipping more cops, man. That'd be interesting. I'd be incredibly interested in seeing a video of you talking to cops during that morning meeting, like you were talking about, 30, 50 cops. That'd be very interesting. Even the process, if it stinks at first, up to when you get good at it. That'd be very interesting. I'm sure a lot of other people would too, but yeah.
I don't think it would stink, but it might have some bumps in the road, but I would love it. I would have so much fun.
It'd
be great.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Awesome, man. Well, that was a solid hour. Thanks for coming on the show. Remember, everybody, to check those links in the description. Help Robert out. Help him on this road to flipping more cops. It's a good approach because we got to attack it from every side. So once again, appreciate you coming on, Robert. Stick around for a minute. We'll do the Patreon video real quick. I sent you that question beforehand. I actually remembered it this time to send it early, so that's good. Not putting you on the spot too much. And thanks, everybody, for listening. Just remember, total freedom, no exceptions.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Enemy of the State's Dank Pod Stash is sponsored by Project Sparta. Go to projectspartacoaching.com to learn more.